Good morning. Hi, everyone. I'm really glad to be here today. I thought today we would focus around the hips area. No doubt, a lot of us are working from home and seated a lot, possibly not moving around as we would probably be if we were in the office or kind of moving from our car to the office and back home. So I thought our hips are probably a little tight. And also, it's also an area of our body that tends to hold a lot of tension and emotion, especially the psoas, which or some of you might know is considered the muscle of the soul. It's a place where emotion and sometimes trauma can be stored. And given the nature of our situation right now, I thought it would probably be a really good idea for us to focus on the hips. So it's going to be a 45-minute class. All you're going to need is a comfortable place, maybe a mat, maybe just directly on the floor. Put a blanket down so you're comfortable. It'd be great if you had some sort of strap. It doesn't have to be an elastic or yoga strap. It could be a tie. It could be a scarf. Something just to be able to hook onto something that has a little bit of strength to it so that we can use it a little later in our practice. And I think that's about it. If you want some music on, feel free to pause the video. Go ahead and put some music on. Make this an opportunity to just check in and give yourself 45 minutes to invite your practice in a nice, comfortable environment. So we're going to begin on our back. If I become muffled in my video, I apologize. I'm doing my best to keep the video as clear as possible with regards to audio. So lie down on our back, and maybe if you want to, you can knock the knees together in what we call constructive rest pose. So feet are going to be wide, and the knees might knock together. You can also extend the legs out long onto your mat if that feels comfortable. And we're going to begin by maybe closing our eyes if we're comfortable with that. Or maybe our eyes are open and we just kind of find a bit of softness behind the eyes. Let's just begin to invite a little bit of breath into our body today. Begin to notice where the breath is going. Maybe notice the spreading of the rib cage into the mat beneath you as you breathe in. And as you breathe out, find whatever breath pattern works for you. I always like to encourage my yogis to really tune in to what's working for them. And I'll give you some suggestions, but don't feel tied to have to stick to them. And especially as we move through our practice today, you might modify your breathing to best suit the movements. And just for a brief moment, I want you to notice where your shoulders are at. Just want you to maybe invite a little bit of softness through the shoulders. Maybe you can see if you can let go by maybe 2% more. Just allow the body, the shoulders to rest on the mat a little bit further. Maybe begin to deepen the breath. Maybe we'll invite a 3-part breath into our practice today. So breathing in through the nose, find the breath coming down into the belly, then the rib cage, and then the heart. And as you exhale, let the heart drip down, let the rib cage come in, let the belly pull in towards the spine. I always like to compare this to an ocean's wave. As the ocean's wave swells up, you breathe right into the heart, and then as the ocean's wave dips down into the deepness of the sea, allow the rib cage, the heart, and the belly to pull in. So begin to notice the back of the body. notice the head, the shoulders, the upper back, the back of the arms, the low back. If your knees are bent, maybe you're noticing the soles of the feet. If your legs are extended, maybe you're noticing the low back, and the back of the thighs, the back of the calf, the heels. As we simply go through our body, notice if there's any places on your body that need some attention. Nothing that you need to do or fix right now. Just you want to send that breath and that energy to any spaces that need a little bit of love and compassion. Maybe it's a physical sensation, maybe it's an emotional one, whatever it is. Just bring your breath into that place. Soften the jaw. Soften the cheeks, the chin, the nose, the eyes, the forehead. Let us set our intentions for our practice today. What is it that you need? What is it that you came to the mat for today? Maybe it's something you've invited to the mat before. Maybe it's something that you're just going to use for the next 45 minutes. Whatever it is, maybe it's something that just pops into your head. Maybe it's even something that changes throughout your practice. And as you're ready, if your knees are knocked together, maybe begin to slowly open them up and then toe heel your feet back through center. And if your legs are extended, begin to slide the heels in towards your midline and bend the knees. Now let's bring our left knee in towards our chest, maybe intertwine the fingers. And let's just extend the right leg long and just gently drawing the knee in towards the heart. Soften the shoulders. This practice is really about finding ease with movement and connection with breath, creating that union, which is what yoga is, creating the union between body, mind, and breath. As you're ready, extend the left leg long, bring the right knee in towards your chest, rest the left leg long, open up through the hip, and soften the knee in towards the heart, just gently guiding the knee in towards your heart center. Softening the shoulders. Again, just a really gentle movement. We're not trying to force the body into any shape. Today's practice isn't about vigorous movement. It's about deepening and opening, letting gravity kind of do its thing. And one more time, let's extend the right leg long. Bring the left knee in towards the chest. And then perhaps release the right arm just out to the side, just as an offering of counterbalance. And then gently open up the left hip. Your right hip might want to lift. And if it does, just gently bring the right hand to the right hip and just to guide that hip down towards the floor. Keep the shoulders connected and gently open through the left leg. And it might not mean you go down to the floor. That's really not the purpose here. It's just to be able to open up gently through the hip. As you're ready, bring your left knee in through center. Guide the right hand over to the left side of the knee and gently bring the left knee up and over. And there's a gentle twist here. Keeping the shoulders connected to the floor. The left hand is extended out long, so you have that counterbalance here. I'm just going to open up and twist the spine really gently here. We're going to move back into this shape a little bit later in our practice, but right now we're just trying to invite a little bit of rotation here. And then come back through center. And release the left leg long and bring the right knee in towards the chest. Intertwine the finger right above the knee. And if we're taking care of the knee, place the hands on top of the knee. And if we want to, you can always place it behind the knee. It's really just a matter of comfort. Just listen to your body. How does it feel? And maybe place the right hand on the outer part of the knee. Extend the left arm long and open up the knee. Just open up the hip. Again, really gentle movement. Keep that left hip kind of anchored down into the mat beneath you. So if it wants to roll with you, just guide the left hand over to the hip and just keep the left hip really nice and secure on the mat. Opening up through the right hip, just opening up gently, feeling the inner thigh. Kind of give a little gentle stretch here. And as you're ready, guide the left or right knee, over to the left side. And there's a gentle twist here. Maybe you're going to feel a little stretch through the glute, through the IT band. And just anchor in through the shoulders, extend out through the right arm, just offering that counterbalance. Really a gorgeous stretch here. I love the stretch. I'm really just allowing, I have a feather touch on my knee right now. It's really light. It's just this gentle guiding. It always reminds me of when my mom used to like gently kind of guide me forward. It was never forceful. It was just like, here you go. Ah, beautiful. And then come back through center and keep that right knee in towards your chest and then bring the left knee in. Starting with our knees to chest and just begin to elongate through the spine. And I really love this oppositional sensation of the crown going in one direction and my tailbone going down towards the other. And maybe rock the body from side to side. If you've ever taken my classes, you've definitely heard me say, think of yourself as your 4 or 5-year-old self. What would you be doing here? You'd be having fun. You'd be moving your body in whatever shape feels available to you today. So don't let that get away from you. Bring it into your practice. Move in the shape that just feels organic and fun and light. That's the beautiful part about yoga. And I just think that's why I'm just so passionate about this practice, because it just allows you to tune in with yourself, just kind of have a bit of fun with it, and really allows you to connect, check in. What do I need in this moment? Maybe we're moving our legs in circles. Maybe we're twisting our ankles. Maybe we're just extending our legs out long and just kicking them up and down, just creating a bit of movement here. Good. And as you're ready, let us come back through center, and we're going to bring the right foot down to the floor, keeping the knee bent. And then guide the left ankle over the right. And just begin here with just allowing the left knee to open up as far as is comfortable. Now maybe this is enough for today, and just allowing the hip to open. Maybe if you're looking for a little bit more sensation, you can guide the right thigh in towards the chest and gently press down through that left elbow into the left leg. And that's just going to give you a little bit more of this hip opener here. And as you breathe in, allow the upper body to soften, allow your throat to soften, allow the breath to soften. A new Ujjayi breath would be really beautiful here, just to really connect into the exhale and the inhale. And connect also into a little bit more of the opportunity to come deeper into this stretch without forcefully moving the body. And as you're ready, you can bring the right foot down towards the floor. And we're going to just cross the left foot right over the right. And we're going to move over the knees towards the right side of the room, keeping the shoulders connected down to the floor, maybe turning the gaze beyond or towards the left side of the room. Feel again that IT band, a bit of the stretch through the glutes, a nice little stretch through the low back as well. And again, if your left shoulder wants to pop up, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Just allow for there to be a movement. Just think about maybe in the mind's eye, bringing that left shoulder down. And as you're ready, come back through center. Now, I mentioned Ujjayi breath before, and I realized I didn't kind of elaborate on that. But let's bring the right ankle over the left knee, and then guide the left thigh in towards the chest. Maybe intertwine the fingers. Now, if you can't bring your hands behind your thigh, feel free to grab that strap or that towel or the tie or the scarf and just bring it behind the thigh and bring the thigh in towards the chest. What's also really amazing here is it really begins to draw awareness to different sides of our body and how they feel. So you might feel a little bit different from one side to the next. So back to our Ujjayi breath. Ujjayi breath is also known as victorious breath, or they call it the Darth Vader breath. And it's a very soothing, connecting breath. And basically, if you breathe in through your nose, if you were to have a mirror in front of you, you want to breathe out of your nose and create that fog in the mirror in front of you. That's a very deep breath in through the nose. A nice breath out through the nose. And with the breath in and the breath out, we create a bit of a constriction of the throat. There's a bit of a sound that we create. That's why we call it the ocean's breath or Darth Vader breath. So you might hear a bit of that sound in the body. Maybe you're practicing with someone right now, the person next to you might hear it too, but that's not really necessary. You can do that, of course, but don't feel like you have to make this really big, loud sound. It's really something that you kind of can hear or someone else can hear. It's really kind of just allowing the constriction of the throat to create whatever sound it wants to. As you're ready, bring the left foot down, unwind the fingers, and cross the right leg right over the left, and then turn the legs over to the left, turn the gaze over to the right, and just keep the shoulders connected to the floor. Maybe your eyes are open here, maybe they're closed. As you're ready, come back through center, unwind the fingers, and let's just come one more time back into our knees to chest and just rock our body from side to side. Create some nice circles with the knees. And then maybe reverse the circles in the opposite direction. Kind of moving through the joint of the hip here. And as you're ready, we'll come down onto our side and maybe roll over onto one side, and we're going to come up into a seated position. And we're going to just move into our first butterfly pose. So soles of the feet together and opening up the knees, allowing them just to gently come into their own space. And if it feels a little uncomfortable, you can prop yourself up with a blanket. If you are really tight through the hips, this is a great way just to create a little bit more space and a little bit more comfort. So I always love to, on days where I'm feeling a little tight here, definitely prop myself up. Why not? Also, another opportunity is to put a little further away from your midline. So don't feel like you need to bring them all the way in to center. Open up a little bit. Why not? Let this part of our body that holds and does so much for us just create a bit of space for it. So if you're propped up and you're lifted, let's begin to find a bit of length through the spine, reaching through the crown of the head. As you're ready, we're going to just fall forward and come into a gentle forward fold and lift through the low back. Let's just try and find that connection first. down to this gentle forward fold, and just noticing if we can stretch the low back a little bit, all the while opening up through the hips. Here's just a nice way to reconnect and take a moment here to pause. Maybe reconnect back with your intention. Remember what you set for yourself at the beginning of your practice. As we take the next few breaths here, maybe explore how you're feeling. Explore the physical body, maybe by reaching the hands a little further away, maybe an inch or two. Just notice how this changes the sensation in the hips. Notice how this changes sensation all the way down to the tailbone, through the spine, through the shoulders. Again, we're moving with ease in our practice today. There's no forcing or pushing our body into places or shapes that maybe today just aren't working. And I was just reading this wonderful book, and one of the sentences was, "Every day is a rebirth." And I really love that, because every day we have an opportunity to start again. And every day is also we have a different body. Our body might have been in one shape yesterday, and today it feels a little different. So remember that. Don't be hard on yourself if today you're like, oh, this feels a little different than it did. Just be okay. That's all right. That's cool. As you're ready, we'll walk our hands back through center, and we'll come back into a lengthened position. And let's bring our feet into crisscross. So just crisscrossing the right foot in front of the left. Let's take a deep breath in. Reach with the hands up towards the sky. And then as we exhale, let's rotate towards the right. Left hand is going to reach that right leg. Right hand is going to reach back. We're going to find that lift through the spine, through the crown of the head. Guide the gaze over the right shoulder and just gently twist here. And then let's take that gaze over to the left shoulder. This is such a beautiful twist. Sometimes we forget about the neck, and we do so much in our other parts of our body, and our neck needs a little love too. And then as you're ready, let us swing the arms all the way up. Take a deep breath here. And then exhale, rotate towards the left. Right hand meets the left thigh. Turn the gaze beyond the left shoulder. Lift up through the spine. So as we find length through the vertebrae, we also offer our body an opportunity to twist a little deeper, but again, without force. Just find that little bit more space within your practice. And then as you're ready, come back through center. Let's take one clearing breath in. Breathe in. And as you exhale, palms together, exhale out of the mouth. Beautiful. Good. Let's find ourselves in tabletop position. So if you were seated propped up on something, just place it to the side. We're going to come into our tabletop position, move through a few cat-cows. Hands are going to be shoulder distance apart. Feet are going to be placed down on the floor. Belly pulled in, and knees and hips are nicely aligned along with wrists and shoulders. Press the hands into the floor. Lift the chin slightly so that your head is nicely aligned with the spine. We're going to move into some hip rolls here. So keeping the abdominals nice and engaged, we're going to drop down through the right hip, down towards the heel on the exhale, on the inhale. As we exhale, pull ourselves back up. So inhale, and then exhale. And again, think of that 4 or 5-year-old self of you. Move through the shoulders, really kind of create this nice fluidity through the movement. And allow there to be this watery flow here. And if you have any issues with your knees, feel free to take a towel, a blanket, to kind of soften the space underneath the knees, especially if you're doing this directly on a floor and you don't have a mat. or on a carpet where it might feel a little bit hard. Just make it comfortable for yourself so that you can move without having to draw your attention to any parts of your body that are not comfortable. And as you're ready, we'll come back in through center, and then we're going to move over to the other side. So left hip down towards the left heel, lift up and back into your tabletop position, and just moving from one to the next. Again, I'm kind of swaying my shoulders here, just kind of finding this really nice watery flow here. Grounding in through the 6-point connection with the mat and the earth, my hands, my knees, my feet. Oh, I just love this. And as you're ready, we'll come back through center. And we're going to press back into child's pose. So let's just open up wide through the knees. I'm not going to come all the way down just because my mic is going to get a little muffled. But I'm going to press down through my hips. I'm going to keep my belly engaged so that I'm not arching into my low back. And I'm going to reach my hands long if that feels comfortable to you. Or you can always place your hands to the side and rest the forehead on the floor. And if that doesn't feel comfortable, and if you find yourself straining through your neck, by all means, create a little tower with your fists and rest your forehead right onto that fist or those fists. Soften through the shoulders. And just take a few moments here now to breathe in through the back body, all the while allowing the hips to open, allow the body to settle in here, allow the shoulders to soften. Remembering the energy through the spine here. So down from the tailbone all the way up towards the crown of the head. And on our next inhale, we're going to come up into our tabletop position. And we're going to bring the knees back through center. So find the knee to hip ratio. And we're going to draw the right foot all the way forward. So again, if you've got any sort of sensitivity in your knees, this is a great place to maybe prop your knee up with your left knee up with a towel or a pillow, whatever feels comfortable for you. So let's just bring ourselves into this kneeling position. And if your hands are propped up on either side of your right foot, and I'll just turn towards the camera to kind of let you see what it looks like. So we're just going to, hands are here. Just kind of allow the front foot to reach a little forward. So we want to be able to have a little bit of space here to deepen into the hip opener without our knee going over our toes. So just think about where your knee is in relation to your ankle. And maybe the back leg is kind of reaching back a little bit on this diagonal. And if you're comfortable, you can stay here. Or if you want to, you can always open up and lift up into this kneeling lunge. So just allowing, I talked about at the beginning of practice, we're going to let gravity really kind of work here. So let's just allow this left hip to open up. There's this pull down towards the mat. So gravity wants to draw you down. And again, we're not forcing this movement. This is really organic, and this is just kind of happening naturally. The spine is elongated. We're reaching through the crown, and we're pulling up through the belly so that we can protect our low back here. A lot of times I've seen in practices where the back is arched, the rib cages pop forward. I really want to keep that neutrality through the spine, open up through the shoulders. And just for a brief moment here, just allow that left hip to open. And again, allow the exhale to deepen into this stretch. I've often used this idea of an ice cube on a hot day. It's, I don't know, I think I heard it somewhere and I don't remember where it was, but, and it's such a great analogy because when you think of an ice cube on a hot day, the sunbeams are coming down on the ice cube and you just kind of see the water trickling and it kind of melts and it just goes away. That's what I want your body to do. Let's just, not me. Sorry, I don't want your body to. I want you to be able to feel that sensation of just kind of letting the body just kind of melt into its space. Now, as we get ourselves ready to come out of this, we're going to walk our hands or walk our body back a little bit. Now, you can place your hands down on the floor. We're just going to reach through that right foot, drop the hips down, and give our hamstrings a little stretch here. Just reach through the toes and find that length. Reach down through the hip, down towards the heel. Again, your hips might not come down. You'll see that mine don't come down all the way either. I'm coming down as far as my body's allowing me today. And let's just take a few moving meditations, if you will, just kind of moving from one to the next with one breath and just concentrating on this opening through the hip and then the stretching through the hamstring. As we're ready, we'll move through one more. Just kind of walking like water, fluid. As we're ready, we'll come back and meet ourselves back in our kneeling lunge here. And we're going to move the left leg up. So just kind of create a bit of that opening deeper into the hip, but also get that stretch through the quadricep. Now, if you want to, we can take the right hand, reach back for the left toes. Now, this might not be available to us today, and that's totally fine. Maybe it's simply in the mind's eye that we're just going to lift that toe and kind of come down towards the toes with our hands. If it doesn't work, don't stress. Just kind of visualize yourself opening up through the chest and giving that quadricep on the left side a nice stretch. As you're ready, release the left foot. Bring the hands down on either side of the right. You're going to curl the left foot up and bring the right foot back. And we'll find ourselves in our downward dog. Feet are nice and wide here. Press down through the heels. And whether the heels touch the floor, again, really doesn't matter. Just draw yourself in that awareness to the heels kind of meeting the earth. Open up through the hips, through the shoulders, sorry. Draw the shoulder blades away from the ears and allow the weight of your body to rest in through the fingertips of the hands, not the fingertips, but the thumb and the pointed finger along into the heel of the hand. Take a few breaths here and feel free to pedal the feet one at a time. Again, move into the hips and just allow there to be a nice opening here. And as you're ready, we'll come back through center, drip down in through the heels. And then we're going to turn our gaze forward and bring our left foot forward this time. And drop down through the right knee. Place the top of the foot on the floor. Maybe both hands are anchored in through either side of the left foot. And make sure that we can just create a bit of space here. So take the left foot, guide it a little forward, bring the left knee on top of the ankle. And again, we're just trying to set the tone so that we can dip into our hip opener here through the right side this time. Now, maybe this is enough for today, and that's totally great. So please make sure you make the decision for yourself. If you want to, you can always come up onto the knee. And again, we're going to pull up through the abdominals, pull up through the pelvic floor, keep the back nice and supported through the low abs. We're reaching down through the right hip this time, letting gravity kind of just drip itself all the way down to the right. Opening up through the right side, creating length through the spine, drop the shoulders. Just take a few breaths here, maybe close the eyes. And for some, this can be really tight. So we're just going to draw that awareness and bring our attention or our breath into any spaces that need some attention and love today. And as you're ready, we might begin to press into the left foot, lengthen out, and then we'll press back through the hip. Maybe bring the hands down to the floor and kind of that moving meditation, if you will, as we move to stretch the hamstring and then walk forward with our hands open up through the hip. And then walk back, lead the toes up to the sky, press back through the hip. And then walk the hands back, open up through the right hip. And just continue to flow here from one to the other at your own perfect pace. I can't stress that enough. I used to go to some yoga classes that were vinyasa, and they were wonderful classes. And when I first began my practice, I really struggled with finding the pace. I found myself always a couple of poses behind, and it really impacted my practice. And then when I took my teacher training, one of the things they couldn't emphasize enough was finding your own rhythm. And I love that because it really took the edge off of feeling like I had to keep up. And it really allowed me to kind of move at my own perfect pace. And if it meant I missed a pose, well, then I missed a pose. It wasn't the end of the world. And let's find ourselves maybe moving through one more. And then coming back and finding that kneeling lunge. Hands are on either side of the left foot. And this time we're going to curl the right toe up, lift up, and we're going to guide the hands up towards the sky. We're going to find our crescent pose. Open up wide through the shoulders. Press down through the heel of the right foot. So drop down a little bit more. Allow the hip to open up a little deeper. Guide the left arm down to your side. Lift up through the torso. Keep the belly pulled in. And we're going to reach over into a side bend. Opening up through the right hip flexor, the psoas muscle. And let me just come into a face the camera so that you could see. So the right foot is back. The left knee is anchored into the floor. Arm is extended out long. We're just going to lean over. And you're going to feel that opening right through the psoas here. That muscle of the soul. I'm just going to hold here for a couple of breaths. Drop down through the heels. So just allow yourself to find a little bit of that edge here so that you can deepen in through this hip opener. And then as you're ready, bring your hands back down through center. Both hands anchored down into the floor. You're going to guide your left foot back. Let me come back onto my mat. And find ourselves in downward facing dog. Pedal the feet. Drop down through the shoulders, away from the ears. And let's guide the right foot up towards the sky. And this time we're going to turn the gaze forward, bend the knee, bring the right foot forward. And if you feel like you need to help the leg, go for it. Open up the leg, bring it in a little further forward. Open up. Keep the left foot, ball of the foot, onto the floor. Both feet are parallel. And as you're ready, you can place your hands on your knees or you can come all the way up. Find your crescent pose. Anchor in through the front foot. Open up the chest. Pull the belly in. Drop the tailbone down. Smile. And then guide the right hand down long. So there's this nice lengthening through the spine. And just open up through that left hip. You're beginning to notice a bit of changes in the breathing. Challenge to balance as well. This is really, and if you feel like you want to do this in a kneeling lunge, by all means, please feel free to do so. Through center, guide both hands up towards the sky. Swim both hands on either side of the right foot. Come back into downward facing dog or child's pose. I'm going to come into child's pose just to rest my body just a moment here. Shift my weight from side to side. And as we're ready, we're going to come back in through center. We're going to curl the toes under. Press back downward facing dog. And we're going to move into lizard. So lizard is another hip opener. We're going to guide the foot over to the edge of the mat. So just begin in downward facing dog. Just find your footing here. Soften through the wrists, soften through the hands. And let's take 5 breaths here. Reconnect back to your intention. And then as you're ready, let us turn our weight or shift our weight into the left foot. On our inhale, guide the right leg up towards the sky. We're going to turn our gaze forward. We're going to bend the right knee, guide it all the way to the outer edge of the mat. So there's going to be a bit wider than the kneeling lunge we just did. We're going to drop down through the left knee. Top of the foot rests on the floor. Both hands are going to be resting on the inside of the arch of the right foot. So both hands are nice and firmly planted onto the floor. We're going to let the right leg just open up a little wider. Now again, this is just really gentle, not forcing it. And then open up to the right side. So open up the chest, and as we do so, we just allow that right knee to open up. Open up the hip. Now, of course, if you have any hip issues or if you've had a hip replacement, this would not be an ideal posture for you. So maybe we would just rest in child's pose here. Let's hold this pose for a couple of breaths, and I kind of find my foot rolling onto the outer edge of the foot so that I can create a little bit more opening through the hip. And think about grounding down into the mat. So it's really, again, opening up, letting gravity do its thing, and just opening up the chest. As you're ready, we'll come back through center, and we're going to go into pigeon pose from here. So for some, this might not be an ideal pose, and if it isn't, I would recommend you come onto your back and you do that figure 4 stretch we started off at the beginning of practice. And I'll just quickly remind you of that pose that we did at the beginning, where you're lying down on your back and you cross over the right over the left and just open up. So this is now we're going to come into another alternative of the pose, and we'll toe heel the right foot over so that it kind of reaches down towards the left side of the mat. We're going to bring the right foot forward, heel in towards the midline. Knee is going to be reaching forward. Weight is going to be shifted slightly forward. Now, if you feel like your hip is dripping down towards the floor, maybe take a blanket, support the hip underneath so you can create a bit of comfort there, and reach to that back left leg. We're going to go into sleeping pigeon. So maybe if you want to, if you have a block or a book, you can always rest your forearms on a block just to kind of invite this pose into your body. And if you're looking for something a little bit more intense, you can always walk your hands a little bit further, come down on your elbows, and then just rest the forehead down onto the floor. I'm not going to come all the way down just because of my mic. I'm going to find my space here. I was in a class once, and we were in this pose for a really long time. And the instructor at one point said to try and stop thinking about when she was going to tell us to get out of the pose. And I think the class cracked up because we were probably all thinking that. And this is a really powerful pose. I always find myself really kind of grappling with thoughts of when we're going to get out, and thoughts of also allowing myself to just settle in here, to invite Ishvara Pranidhana, with that idea of surrendering the body. So if I have to invite you to something here, invite the opportunity to take the next 10 breaths with nothing but the thought of releasing the body a little deeper into the mat. Maybe thinking of each exhale as an opportunity to release the shoulders, to release the hips, maybe even 1% more, making yourself just a little bit more comfortable here. As we take the next couple of breaths, continue to soften the shoulders, soften your jaw. And then getting into the pose is important, but just as important as getting out of the pose. So begin to press the hands into the floor slightly and slowly, gently bring the neck up, and then begin to press the hands into the floor as you guide yourself up. Begin to find yourself in a lifted pigeon position. I'm going to curl the left toes under and just lift the knee. So establish that nice grounding, press the hands into the floor, and then begin to guide the right foot back. And we're going to pedal out the feet a little bit in downward facing dog just to kind of move through the knee joint and to loosen up a little bit before we move into the other side. And as you're ready, we'll come back into our downward facing dog, open up the feet a little wider, press down and away from the ears through the shoulders, drop the heels down, take a moment here. As you're ready, turn the gaze forward. We're going to take the left leg up towards the sky this time. So just find that space of lifting the left leg up. Turn the gaze forward, bring the left leg all the way to the outer edge of the left side of the mat. Drop the right knee down. And then we're just going to bring both hands on the inside arch of the left foot. The left leg is just going to guide its way as far as is comfortable. Maybe resting the foot on the outer edges of the foot. And lengthening through the upper body here. So we're not collapsing through the shoulders. We're kind of really active here. And again, coming back to that idea of gravity. Let the hips just open. Let the body reach down to the floor. As you're ready, you can shift your weight into the right hand and open up into our twisted lizard. Keep the abdominals engaged, open up through the chest. Let the hips just fall down. At your own perfect pace, coming back through center. Now we're going to move into our pigeon. So if you are doing the supine version of pigeon, please go ahead and get yourself settled there. If you're not, you're just going to come into the other expression of the pose. Simply toe heel the foot over to the right side. And then just guide the foot down and reach through that right leg a little bit longer and a little further away. If you notice your left hip wants to kind of plop down onto the floor, use a blanket to prop yourself up. Again, feel free to use a block to rest your forearms on, or you can come right down into the sleeping pigeon and just allow your upper body to rest. And as we move on to the other side of our body, kind of scan the body. Notice where you want to send your energy and your breath to. There's two places on my body in particular that always tend to tighten up when I get here, and it's usually my jaw. So I usually have to really focus on my jaw, just softening and releasing my tongue from its palate and releasing my teeth. And also my shoulders, they just want to creep up to my ears. I'm just really focusing on allowing my softening of my shoulders here to just ease away from my ears. So maybe widen the elbows. Again, we're going to come back into this shape and breathe for 10 deep breaths. And with each exhale, thinking of how can I make myself more comfortable here. Soften your throat, maybe even clear your throat. As we take the next few breaths, find an opportunity to release the body a few more percentages so that you're a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more deeply rooted into the stretch. Again, as we're going to get ourselves out of this posture, I'm going to slowly lift the neck and begin to place the full hands onto the floor and slowly rise your upper body up. Just come into that awakened pigeon, if you will. And this time we're going to shift on to the left hip and then turn our right foot forward and just bring both feet outstretched and just shake it off. Oh, it feels so good right now. Oh, good. And just shake it off and maybe loosen the shoulders and loosen the neck. Jeez, I feel looser already. Okay, and let's just take one deep cleansing breath in. Breathe in. And as you're ready, exhale forward. Just allow the head to soften. Soften the toes, soften the ankles. Anchor in through the low back. And just take this gentle bow to yourself and to the universe, to your intention. Just offering it a bit of thanks here. Good. As you're ready, begin to walk your hands back through center, and we're going to bend our knees and slowly begin to articulate down through the vertebrae as we bring ourselves all the way down to the mat. And slowly roll down and bring your knees back in towards your chest. And if there's anything here that you feel like your body needs, an inversion or something like that, maybe candlestick, or maybe happy baby, which is always a favorite, especially for the hips. It's kind of anchoring in through the low back and hooking onto the big toe and just rocking your body side to side. Can always extend one leg and just give a little bit of an opening through one side, stretch out the hamstring. Maybe bend the other and extend the other, keeping the feet nice and active and flexed. And coming back through center from wherever you are right now, let us bring the feet down to the floor and let's come back to where we started. Now we're going to move into our Shavasana, and if you want to keep your knees knocked together in constructive rest pose, or if you want to extend the legs out long onto the mat, feel free to do so. Maybe your arms are extended out to the side, palms are open to give and receive energy, or maybe one hand is on your tummy and one hand is on your heart to support the energy that you have within your body. Please feel free to choose whichever one you want. Let's take a few moments here in our Shavasana. As you're ready, let us begin to wiggle our fingers and wiggle our toes, reawakening our physical body. Maybe you begin to flutter your eyes open, just softening your gaze, just honoring the sensations that are running through the body. And maybe you'll roll onto your favorite side for a brief moment and just transition from lying down and then slowly coming up into an easy seated position. own perfect pace, maybe slowly bring yourself up into an easy seated position with hands at heart center. Let us bring our thumbs right to the sternum here, just to really connect through and create this like closed circuit of energy through the body, just connecting to our heart. And perhaps our hands are resting here at our heart. I mean, you can also rest them at your lap, whatever really feels organic to you, what feels comfortable. With a gentle bow of our head towards our hands, let us recall or remind ourselves of the intention that we set at the beginning of practice today. Know that this intention can be put into our back pocket and used at any time, anywhere, in any moment. It's always available to us. Let's close our practice with a deep cleansing breath in through the nose as we extend the arms up to the sky. May your heart always stay warm, and may your smile always stay broad, and may the light that shines in me always honor the light that shines in you. Namaste.